channels. All right, this looks like it's working.
Wonderful.
Yay. Kia ora, Tato. Welcome back to another Q&A here at Digital Boost. I'm Georgia Hatzis, your host, and today I have the pleasure of hosting Quin Thomas today. And Quin is our digital content specialist at Digital Boost. Am I right, Quin? That's right.
Yeah,
I said that
correct.
right. And Quin is going to talk to us today about QR codes. QR codes, the title is Portals to the Internet. Quin and I had a really great conversation earlier this week and earlier today, just about the idea of barcodes versus QR codes and these codes that are popping up and how do we use them and how can we incorporate them in our businesses. So I'm going to let Quin, who's the expert on this, take this away and present to you. In the meantime, any questions you have, pop them into the chat function or the Q&A function here on Zoom. I'm really excited to get started on this, Quin. Also because full disclosure, I had Quin create a QR code for me for a presentation that I'm going to be putting on. And as you all know, and I've said this a million times, I'm an old lady. This is a filter. I'm old. I love analog. So I'm going to get to use QR for the first time myself. So I'm excited about this. Thank you, Quin. Welcome.
Awesome. Great to be here. Thanks for having me, Georgia. So yeah, I will share screen and we'll get into it.
Great.
Okay, so yeah, QR codes. I've titled this Portals to the Internet, and we'll see why probably about halfway through the presentation. But to start with, I just wanted to give a little bit of context on what they are, how they came to be, and what actually makes up a QR code. So you've probably used them by this point, if not during the COVID tracing days, then perhaps for movie or concert tickets, or you might have seen them popping up on posters. They tend to be around in the world now. They're kind of a part of life. So you'll probably know this barcode as opposed to these other ones. And that's because the Uniform Grocery Code Council decided they needed a standardized way to label food. They made a competition. These people entered, and the winner was this one here.
Wait,
So
go
you've got
back a second. I have to see that. So these are different, these are potentially what could have been different barcodes for us.
they could have been looking like this on your packet of pasta. Um,
Wow.
but the winner was this design here.
Mhm.
So you've got 91 evenly spaced lines, which are either a one or a zero. So the thick lines are actually just multiple ones in a row. And when the laser scans it, it converts that binary into a code, which it then logs as, okay, this was this pasta. So the problem with them is they're not that space efficient, and they only work from certain angles, and you need the laser. Not perfect. So a subsidiary of Toyota actually held a contest. They wanted to improve upon the design, mainly for use in factories, not so much to do with groceries, obviously, with Toyota. So they held a competition, and we got QR codes. But they didn't actually copyright or safeguard the tech. They released it out into the world for everyone to use. So what actually makes up a QR code? So you've got these little blue sections here and here, and they just talk about how big is the QR code. So QR codes come in different sizes, and the more pixels that you've got in here, the more data that it can hold. This one obviously has a lot more data than this one. And the version information tells the app or QR converter, how big is this? Then these red sections tell us about the format information. Is this a web link? Is it plain text? Then all these bits in the middle is just your data, what's actually being encoded. And the squares help to position when you're scanning so it can actually read the code a bit better. Then you also tend to have a quiet zone around the edge, which is just a little bit of a gap so that the app knows where the edges of the code are. So why would you have one that's this big instead of one that's this big? Well, a QR code can actually have the same information encoded multiple times, which adds a bit of redundancy, meaning that even if a QR code is partially damaged, you may still be able to scan it and it still scans and works and takes you to where they wanted to go. So we're going to have a look at some potential damage that could happen to a QR code and whether it might still scan.
So, and that's different than the barcode. Do you need some water? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, that's water.
Yeah. And it's different than the barcodes because if you damage a barcode because of that binary, you cannot scan it.
Correct.
As we all have experienced at different times.
Yes. So you might have worked at a grocery checkout. Finding them and scanning them is obviously a little harder than it first seems. Sometimes, the box has got a little bit of damage on it and it just won't scan at all because it needs all of those digits to work properly.
Yeah, or even if you're checking out and you're at the grocery, you're trying to pay, and the person's going like, "Yeah, I can't scan this. I can't scan." That's happened to me multiple times, I have to say. So this is interesting. I'm curious to see how the QR code stays fresh for us.
Yes. So if you have never scanned, excuse me. If you've never scanned a QR code, you can just open your camera app on your phone and point it at the code, and it should say open in your internet browser. So these three should all open. Excuse me. But what about these ones? So if you open up your camera app, point at these, see if these will read. So for me, the bright one is loading. The partially damaged one is loading. And it's struggling a little bit to see the dark one. So you might want to think about when you're making QR codes, where will they be seen? Is there enough contrast on the image to make sure that it will scan properly, even if it is bright or dark? What about these ones? If you've been eating on your QR code, will it still scan? So this is picking up all three of these. Even though the one on the right is missing a positioning square, because two of the big ones and this little one here are still there, it should still be able to pick up the code and load it.
That is fascinating. I'm sitting here with my camera, and it is, even on the one earlier where you had the darker square, my camera still picked that up.
So that can just be to do with the contrast of your screen.
Right, of course.
Or just like, getting the camera into the right place. So what about if there is a bit more damage here? There's quite a lot of glue spilled. See if these ones scan.
The
So what are
only
we
one,
getting?
yeah, the ripped one doesn't seem to be working for me, but I don't know if that's just mine. And the other two are actually scanning.
So in this case, some of the vitals might have been damaged. So if we go back to here, we need the version and format information. These can't be damaged because there's no redundancy on these. So here, it might have actually damaged some of that vital information, whereas here, it's actually passed through it and it's not damaged the QR code too badly for it to scan. Does that make sense? So what about these ones? This one's missing a chunk in the middle, but it looks like the outside edges are all still intact. So this one here and this one here, both should load fine, even though there's a missing chunk in the middle. What about this blurred one? So that one scans fine for me. So that one's all right. What about these ones? We're starting to get a bit glitchy now. So regardless of the glitching, all three are scanning for me. What about these ones? Can you get these three to scan?
Yeah, it seems like the first one, the going really fast, not so much, but the other two seem to be fine. This is fun.
So again, yeah, here, too much blurring, too much damage to the vital information that tells the app how to read the QR code. Whereas here, even though it's amongst all this other garbage, there's still all the vital information, and you still have that quiet zone around the edge, which means that it's able to pick this out of the whole pixely mess and know, okay, this square in the middle is the QR code.
Does it depend on your camera as well, Quinn? Because we're picking up these QR codes on essentially on our phones, right? That's the only way to scan them.
Yeah, it's definitely the most common way. Any device with a camera and an internet connection can pick these up. So
iPad, I guess a
yeah,
computer.
iPad
Yeah. But
potentially, although it's be very uncommon to use a laptop or something to scan a QR code. So why bother making these? Can't I just write down, the link to my website? What's the point? So the reason why you would use a QR code is to take someone from a physical space to an online space. From a physical to an online space, hence portal to the internet. So if you have something like this situation, so this first blue box is a lot easier to get to if I'm already online. Say I see this link on Facebook, all I have to do is click it and I'm there. If I see a QR code on Facebook, hopefully I'm looking at Facebook on my laptop. That means I then have to pull out my phone, scan it. It's a lot more steps. So if someone's already online, it's going to be a lot easier to just give them a link to click. But if someone is offline, you can bring them into your online world with a QR code.
So essentially, if let's say you're sending out a marketing email, a QR code in a marketing email wouldn't necessarily be as efficient because you're already online in checking your emails as a link to wherever you're going, for
Yeah,
example.
that's dead right. And
Mm,
the other thing to think about is if someone opens it on their phone, they can't scan it
right.
because they need to use the camera. So there's a few things to keep in mind about QR codes. So first of all, we've got static versus dynamic. So a static QR code is going to go to one link. That's it forever.
Quinn, do you want to run and grab some water? We have a moment if you're good. I know your hay fever is getting you right now. It's like you're
Okay.
allergic to me. Quinn is allergic to me,
Crazy.
everyone. Uh, and I just have a quick question here that's come
Yeah,
in.
sure.
When traveling on a Jetstar flight recently, well, there's your first mistake, Carol. No, joking, joking. Lots of passengers using mobile boarding cards with QR codes were having real trouble scanning them. Jetstar staff were asking them to increase the brightness on their phones, which fixed the problem for some, but not everyone. I wonder if some people slash customers with older phones might struggle to read QR codes. Hmm.
Yeah, this can definitely come up. I know I used to work at a pack and save during COVID, and so I would help people to scan in. Um, Older phones will struggle sometimes. But again, that sounds like an example of someone's already online. They've got their QR code on their phone and they're trying to get someone else to scan it off their phone. Ideally, that should be something that's printed on a ticket, or maybe QR code's not the right tech to be using there because someone's already online. A link or some other way of pairing those two would be better.
Yeah, I think it's like when you're using your boarding pass on your phone,
Mm.
and they're scan. I think they actually use a scanner, like a proper, either the gun scanner or where you
Yeah.
put your phone on. So I think it depends on phone. It was an online boarding card generated during online check-in, and Jetstar scanners couldn't read them. Yeah. So
Mm.
Carol, I wonder if Jetstar needs to get a little more, get the sensitivity of their scanners better. What do you say, Quinn, as opposed to the phone?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of brings to a very important point with all digital marketing stuff. You need to test it. Um, so if you are making QR codes, try it out. If you know someone who has a bit of an older phone, flick it to them, ask them to scan it, see if it works. Maybe Jetstar should be doing a little more testing to make sure that that system works smoothly. It's a pretty vital step in the boarding process. So static versus dynamic. So a static QR code always goes to the same place, but you can also create a dynamic QR code. So a dynamic QR code, you can actually go in after and change the URL, and it will still go, like the QR code will go to the new location instead of where you originally set it up. This can be helpful if you make a mistake while making your QR code. Maybe you accidentally sent people to like Lacebook instead of Facebook, and we really need to get in and fix that. If you've got a dynamic code, you can go in afterwards, after you sent the QR code out to all your manufacturers, and update it so that the mistake can be rectified. Certain QR code generators will allow only a certain amount of scans. This can be useful for things like tickets, where a code should only be valid for one scan. And after that, that's done now. So you need to think about whether you want unique codes or a code that everyone should scan and go to the same place. When you're actually printing the QR code, so again, these are some tips to make sure that it will scan even on an older phone. Try to avoid high gloss. I saw a lot of COVID posters get laminated. It makes them so much harder to scan because the light just bounces straight off the plastic. Try to avoid crinkly materials like a poster outside. If it's going to get wet, it's likely to damage the QR code. Possibly enough to not actually be able to scan it anymore. Keep the contrast high. So that helps, again, in low light areas, or to be honest, just to help the camera catch the QR code a little quicker. And make sure it's big enough because people have to actually see the code and be able to scan it. So don't do some dinky little dot in the bottom right of your poster. Make sure it's clear and visible. Think about where the QR code is going to be. So if you put a QR code on a bus, on a wrap of a bus, someone sees it and thinks, whoa, that looks good. I'm going to scan that. They pull it, their phone, and oh, the bus is gone. So think about, is the QR code going to be still enough that I can actually get my phone out, open the camera app, and scan by the time, you don't want the QR code to be driven away by the time you go to scan it. Also, someone moving will find scanning a QR code tough. So even though a billboard is static, the people in the cars are not. And you really don't want people in their car pulling out their phone to try and scan a billboard. So you really got to think about the context of where people will be scanning them. Where are they going to have internet and phone access? If you have the QR codes in your store and your store doesn't have good 3G, you're not in good range, then the QR codes are all going to fail because you're trying to take someone onto your website and you don't have reception there. It's not going to work. So anytime these codes don't work properly, it's going to cause a bit of a negative experience. So you do want to make sure that you're thinking about these things and testing before you start to really roll them out. So other things to note, as in this one, oftentimes you can brand your QR code either by chucking a logo in the middle or changing the colors or style of the QR code. I've included a few different links in the slides to different QR code generators, but there's millions of them out there, and a lot of them are really good, and pretty much all of them are free. So if you Google QR code generator, a bunch of them should pop up. But I've also, as I said, got a few linked into this presentation.
We've got a really good question here, Quinn.
Sure.
This is interesting because it also is about, you're already online. So how can QR code help here? So I'm really interested to know at a relevant point in the presentation, which is now, Carol, this is the relevant point. I'm making it relevant. Whether QR codes could help me get around the lack of linking ability on Instagram posts. Thus, could I put one on an Instagram post so that customers could link to one of my products on my website? That would be awesome, especially as Meta has suspended our ability to have IG and FB shops in New Zealand.
Yeah, it's a bit frustrating, isn't it? Again, you run into that kind of problem from going from online to online, in that it's easier if there is a link.
But yeah, if you can't
Unfortunately,
use a link, right? You
yeah,
can't use a link on Instagram, or you can't link on Facebook, because so there is no way. Like if I have a QR code on my phone right now, right? And I
I
just
think
click it.
if you screenshot and in your Photos app, I think it sometimes will let you scan it from there. But it's a bit unintuitive. You're not going to find many people screenshot and actually go and scan it because it's quite a lot of steps. I
Hmm.
would recommend for Instagram at least, a link tree can be really good because you can often put one link in your bio, and a link tree is a link that holds all of your other links. So if you have multiple products, multiple regions that you need to kind of point people to, different other social medias, a link tree can be really good for having one link that then feeds off to multiple different products. A little bit of a get around on the way that Meta doesn't like people going off their sites, which links usually is what that's doing, is taking them off Instagram or off Facebook.
Yeah, which is just making these extra steps for us, right? So, Carol, that's what you're saying. She says, I have the equivalent of a link tree right now, but obviously a
Yeah,
direct link would be awesome. It would be awesome, Meta. Why are you doing this to us? But okay, let's not let the Meta gods hear us and mess up something else. So,
okay. So now's probably a good time for any other questions. And then I'm going to talk about some of the more interesting ways that we can use a QR code. Just take a moment, grab some water.
yeah, you do that. And if anyone has any questions you want to pop in now, go for it. And I like what you were saying about having that contrast. We could brand the QR code specifically to your brand, but make sure there's contrast in the colors. You don't want to have like, I don't know, like a salmony color and then a pink color, and then you don't have the contrast and you can't.
Exactly.
Or
You
even these
gotta,
colors behind me probably wouldn't work. Like if you did a
yeah,
QR code in
they,
the.
they might, but it's gonna take a little bit longer probably for your camera to figure out what it's looking at.
Mm.
And if the lighting's not good, uh, that's just gonna make the problem worse.
Right.
All right, I'll move on. So some of the more common ones are going from print media or your brick and mortar store, or a physical product tag onto your website or social media. So in this case, I've got a QR code generator, and so this is the generator here. I would take a link, say the Digital Boost one, pop it in there, and done. There's my QR code. And if I wanted to customize it, we can make them round or thin or splotchy. Can use the Digital Boost brand color. Yeah, so say that was good. That's what I wanted. Then I can just save that and pop that onto something, and that should scan through to the Digital Boost website now. And you can do the same thing for a Facebook page or an Instagram page. But this is kind of the surface level stuff that most people would know about. Another thing you can do is tracking marketing programs. So a lot of the time, you are running a campaign and you want to know exactly how well it did. If you're using Google Analytics, you may know of these things down here, UTMs. So on a URL or a web link, you've got the name of the website, and then sometimes at the end you'll have a question mark, and then these things where it's like UTM source equals something, and UTM medium equals something, and UTM campaign equals something. Basically, this is saying to Google Analytics or whatever you track these things through that the click to this website came from an email newsletter to do with our spring sale. So you can actually include these UTMs as you would normally do when you're creating a tracking link, and put that into the QR code so that you know how many people came from the email newsletter versus the poster, or if you've got like the example before, we have a code on each product tag that goes to the online product page. Having UTMs to say, okay, well, this person came from scanning a tag, or this person came from scanning a poster, or this person came from scanning something else. You can then judge how effective each one is and how popular each one is. This site at the top is a really good one for building out these URLs. So in this case, I've got the URL here, and then all I need to do is put where it came from, how it was sent, and what campaign it's to do with, and it will generate that for me at the bottom. And then I would just take this link here and turn that into a QR code, and all of the UTM tracking measures will be included into that QR code. Any questions on that one, Georgia? Sorry, I know that one's quite a heavy one.
Yeah, I mean, tracking marketing, of course, that's just another interesting way of using it. Carol did have a question about what do you guys see as the main benefit for businesses of having QR codes? Where would we use them on ads? So we are going through some of this right now, but I'm thinking like really, you can get so creative with how you're using QR codes. Yeah, that's cool, UTM. It is cool. This is so cool. QR codes. Look, I'm such an old lady. I'm literally like, these are really cool things, these QR codes. Oh my God, Giorgio, stop. Fangirling about QR codes. Yeah, Carol, the great thing that, we were kind of brainstorming, you could put QR codes on your products. So if someone, if you're selling physical products, let's say, right? So you could put QR codes on your products, and it could tell you a little story about where the product comes from, or, how it came to be, or about page for you, what your company is about. You can do
YouTube video or
YouTube video. Yeah. And I'll let you like go through the list, Quinn, because you obviously, I'm just brainstorming as far as like, this is such a new, for me, technology, which is not a new technology. And I'm like, so many creative ways of using it to boost your business, to get people more involved, to get them playing around within your website, within your marketing. Like Quinn said, if you could start a YouTube channel about your stuff, or it can take you to your Instagram, right, Quinn? It'll like a QR code. There's all kinds of ways, but even more creative than just going to your Instagram. Like there's so much we can do with this. And I'll let you answer that question. I'm just getting a little too passionate. Too much coffee this morning.
Yeah, so the thing to really think about, the base principle, is you can think about them like a link that lives in physical space. So anything that you might want to link someone to while they were online, instead of, you can't put a link on a poster that someone can actually click with their finger, whereas a QR code will actually work as a link from physical to digital, wherever you want to take them on digital. So let's look at another interesting one. So joining a Wi-Fi network. Maybe you run a cafe or something, or just some sort of store that has Wi-Fi as an offering for its customers. finding and putting in the username and password can be a little bit annoying, but you can actually go to the site and pop in the SSID, password, any details, and generate a QR code, which will let people then join the Wi-Fi network. A lot easier to just, oh, I need to just connect and scan it with my phone and I'm on. Let's see what else we've got. So you can open predefined messages. So there's a few different types of message you can do here. So first one is we've got email. So if you want, I can't think of any use examples right now, but if you had to quickly email certain people with certain things, you can actually set up a partial email ready to send. That's a good example. Say you had a share with a friend sort of offering. You could write into this an email that says, hey, check this out. I found this, it's really cool, and I wanted to share it with you. So then by generating the code, once you've written in all the message that you want, someone could then scan that and it will open the email app, partially write the email, and then all they need to put is who it's to, or add their own details in. We can also see here, we can set it to call. So you can have your phone number encoded as a QR code, which can be a little easier to scan than typing out all those digits. And the last one I talk about on this slide is a contact file. So you might be able to scan this on your phone and it loads that contact onto your phone, which can be a good thing if you're at maybe a conference and you're trying to network. These can be a really good way. Chuck it on your business card and people can scan from the physical business card so that their information is now living on your phone.
That's brilliant. I love that idea, especially now that, business cards we don't use as much, right? We're not like throwing them around like we used to. So even if you just have one or two and you're like, hey, here's my business card, just scan it. And now it's in your contacts. You're right there. Mm.
All right, where are we? So we can also open predefined calendar events. So maybe you have a farmer's market coming up and you want people to register so that you can send them reminders or maybe even a discount. This can be a really good way to get something into someone's calendar. So again, we would just put in the description, date, time of the event, and then when they scan that, it will open up in their calendar app, and they can, add any details they want, and then hit confirm, and it will be into their calendar, nice and easy. You can also open apps if you have an app as part of your offering. You can link straight to an app on the App Store or Google Play Store, which can be, again, a nice quick way to get someone from physical space to downloading your app very quickly without even actually having to open up the App Store or search for you. Just scan it and it opens the page and asks for confirmation to download. So nice and easy. Loyalty program tracking. So I've seen this a bit more recently. My partner is notorious. She has a wallet that's about this big. She's widely loyal, She has loyalty cards for maybe like 50 different places. And I think that wallet probably weighs about 5 kilograms.
Quin, widely loyal. I love that. I think many of us are widely loyal. Yep.
And yeah, lugging the cards around, it's not my style. I mean, my wallet is that. So if you have a QR code in your store, you can actually set up a loyalty program in a slightly different way. So every time someone comes in, they scan the QR code. You know they were there, what time, and that gives you basically the information that you need from a loyalty card. If you scanned the QR code on 5 different days, you get a free coffee or something. You know, same things that you would use for a normal loyalty program. Depending on how you are choosing to kind of apply that loyalty program, maybe you have a program that you use to do that. You might just have to look into how that specifically hooks into a QR code, but it's certainly something that you could think about. So the next one is links to feedback forms such as Google reviews. So Google reviews can be really important for a small business. Often one of the first things that people see when they Google your business name are the reviews sitting on the right panel. And it can be tough to get people to actually leave you a review. You can ask them, you can sort of show them where they might do it, but it's a lot quicker if you just allow them to scan. So the way to do this is a little bit trickier than the other ones. So the first thing is to go to this link here, which will let you search up a location. So for this one, we'll do Academy EX. And because we are on Google Maps, it's going to give us this place ID. Now, if we go back here, and we put the place ID into this section of this link, then that link will open up a review on Google for your company. So a few steps there. One, you got to go here, find your place ID from Google Maps. If you're not on Google Maps, first you got to get on Google Maps, and then you'll be able to get a place ID. Pop the place ID at the end of this. And then now if I open this, it has opened directly to a review screen of Academy EX, 5 stars. And then obviously if that wasn't clear, you can then take this final link and turn that into a QR code, which people can scan and go direct to review. A nice thing to have sitting if you've got like a reception desk or something where people check out, can be a good thing to have sitting there. You know, how did we do? Let us know. Scan the code. And probably more. So I thought now I would stop yapping quite as much and field some questions from the crowd about any of the ways that I've mentioned, or possibly different ways you thought of, or questions about QR codes.
Yeah, and we'll give you a couple minutes to pop anything you want into the Q&A. And I'm also moving through our socials, through our Facebook and our LinkedIn, if you're streaming in from there, or YouTube. I have popped in the link for that Quin had just taken us to, the developers.google.com maps. So you can have a look at that if you're on the Zoom. I don't know if Facebook lets me link anything in the comments, does it? As we discovered before.
Too sure. But yeah, as mentioned earlier, Meta is not a fan of links on their site.
That don't
because
take you to other
other
meta
don't
sites.
take you to other Facebook or Instagram adjacent things.
Yeah. Quinn, this is so incredibly informative. It's really, I can usually do Facebook links, but not Instagram. Okay. All right. I might just pop that link in the Facebook as well and the LinkedIn. But I was saying this is fantastic. Like I didn't even think about possibly going into QR codes, and you had mentioned it to me because we were talking about what would be a really nice um, topic to bring up with our SMEs here in Aotearoa. And sometimes it's things we don't even think about as digital boosters, right? We think about, okay, we want more marketing. We know what we want for our businesses, but something like this that can just take it to the next level. It can take your business, it can, help you just shift into another level. It's fantastic. And that list that you had of different ways we can use QR codes. I mean, I'm curious to know if anybody who's watching, if you have an idea that you could share, besides having it, on a poster or like I said, on a product, or, where else would you share your QR codes? What would you link to? I mean, it's fantastic. No, I think we're good. So if you can't think of any questions now, totally fine. No pressure, obviously. You can always reach out to us at support@digitalboost.co.nz. If you want to speak directly to Quinn, I've got his number. I'll send you right to him. And again, any questions you might have that come up now or later when you're rewatching, please reach out and always let us know if there's anything else we can get to you, any other information that you need. That's what we're here for. Quinn, thank you for taking the time to join us today. I really appreciated this. Your knowledge is amazing. And I love playing around with this stuff and getting to, when I do come into the office and get to see you, we do get to chit chat about things like this, which is great. We've got a comment. Thanks. This has been a great session. We'll definitely be giving thought to how to use these. Yeah. And don't forget, we have our community page on Facebook. So please go on there and interact with each other. Talk to each other about, hey, how are you using your QR codes? I came up with this idea. It's a great place for you to get together and actually bounce ideas off of each other as well. So
Yeah,
thanks,
and
everybody. Oh, sorry, Quinn.
that's one of the good things about QR codes is because they are really easy to make and they are free. So as a small business, it's a really easy tool to use and it can give you benefit and at very, very, very little opportunity cost. You spend 5 minutes making one, see how it goes. Um, you know, uh, there's really not much to lose by trying it out.
Absolutely. I think that's a really great point. And the fact that it's free and that it is, I don't know if you all had fun, but I had fun playing around with just the different ideas of how it doesn't break. It's so hard to break it. It's so hard to break a QR code. Yeah. Oh, Quinn, thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for showing up on this live stream. We have another live stream for Thursday. So it's going to be a little while before we dive into one of our deep dive workshops. But next, on Thursday, we are talking to the Warehouse Group about their hard stacks. So come on in and see what they have to share with us about how your hardware can benefit your business and how we can boost in different ways there as well. I appreciate your time, Quinn, and I will see you around and I will see the rest of you around. So have a gorgeous day. I'll see you on Thursday. Matewa.
Wonderful. Thank you.